Oh, well, maybe 3 times the charm in many different ways. Happy New Year! First video of the year. I really wasn't going to shoot anything till over the weekend, and today I sat down while I was eating my chicken noodle soup I made. Decided to check out YouTube, and Tim Marrant has an anniversary contest going on for, I guess, his anniversary on YouTube. And that's what I mean. This is the 3rd time I'm doing this video, so there was other contests I was going to enter, but I'll just wait till this weekend. Hopefully nothing will interrupt me this time again. Mothman, phone calls, nothing like that. And then this is also the 3rd contest of his I'm entering. The first contest I entered, I was just like, you know, I had most of the books, and I just wanted to answer the questions. He comes up with really good questions, I think, that click with me for his contest. Second time I didn't win, so this may be the 3rd time. Okay, 3rd time may be the charm. So he's got a really cool prize there with a stained glass window of Cyclops he's making or designed. Might be the design. I'm not sure which one. So he has 3 questions. How you doing? Does Batman need Robin? And he's looking for a book to collect. My stuff's all out of order now, or I've already done this, but so the first question is, I'm surviving, brother. How are you doing? Second question, I'm gonna do them out of order. Is he has a few titles of his that he collects that are being canceled, so I guess he has room to start collecting something else. And just watch the video. He gives specifics. And I watch so many YouTubers when I finally sit down and stuff. I'm kind of familiar with his taste, but I'm not familiar with what he actually has in his collection. So I had a few recommendations, man. Anything from Alan Moore's ABC line. Tom Strong, Promethea, Top 10, anything like that. And there's more to those. There's more to those series than, except for Promethea. There's more to those series than just the ongoing series. There's hardbacks of Top 10 that he did, telling the history of the town more or less. What else was there? Tom Strong's Terrific Tales, just a one-shot with Tesla Strong, all good stuff. I was going to recommend I think it started in '99, the JSA that James Robinson and David Goyer started back, and then, you know, it seems like I heard him talk about that, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm going with the offshoot of the JSA book. Okay, Hawkman from 2002, James Robinson, and Starman fame. That's another one, Starman. I know I've heard him talk about Starman. Anyway, Hawkman. You know, Jeff Johns ended up staying on the book and did 26 issues, and that's where I quit. Excellent book. Love this Hawkman book. And then around 27, Jimmy Palmiotti and Justin Gray came on and took over, and you know, I quit the book when Johns left, and I messed up because those are some really great stories where he brought in Golden Eagle and quite a few other things. So maybe the first 50 issues of the Hawkman and all those other books I said. Okay, really, really great book. Nothing was wrong. They fixed Hawkman after 25 years of him being messed up. You know, started in the JSA. So the 3rd question, he actually picked. You know, this is one of 3 comic book questions that I've had discussions going back to, like, I mean, the question is, does Batman really need Robin? And I cannot remember a time of not ended up having this discussion. I haven't had it in probably a decade, thank God. But it's one of the few questions I'm adamant about where it's a non-issue. Yes, Batman needs Robin. We're not talking about Green Arrow and Speedy. We're not talking about Captain America and Bucky. We're not talking about TNT and Dan the Dynamite and anybody else that's got sidekicks and stuff. We're not talking about Star Spangled Kid and Stripesy, where, you know, the kid was the hero and the adult was the sidekick and all this stuff. And I think the real reason, there's several things that people get burned up about when it comes to Robin. One is they're not informed of the character's real history. They don't go back to the time period, the 40s, when he came out. Number 2, you had Stan Lee and Dan Didio come out with the whole idea of, I think Stan Lee just said he hated the idea of a sidekick when Robin came out. He didn't hate Robin, he hated the sidekick. And Dan Didio's just always had this thing, he wants to kill Dick Grayson. And Mark Waid and Grant Morrison and a couple other people have always had to step up and talk him down. And number 3, I think it goes back to that people remember the Robin from the TV show. you know, everything was wholly this with a pun, you know, and all that stuff. And he's always, you know, smacking his hand and all that stuff. And even that, I don't even think that was bad. You know, that's part of the camp of the show. I kind of accept Batman as a whole and everything he's done because he's such an endearing character that, you know, he survived everything, good interpretations, bad interpretations, and I think the picking and the choosing the Batman is what really keeps him rich. Everybody's got their Batman they love. Be it Adam West. My favorite Batman is Kevin Conroy. I've got the whole Batman, everything Kevin Conroy's done on Batman I've got over here. To me, my Batman is Kevin Conroy. You know, but anyway, but we'll go back to Robin. What people need to realize is when Robin came out, the whole concept of a kid beating up adults runs all over some people, even if you're trained by Batman. Okay, let's go back. We'll have to go back in history, man. I want to do an off-the-hip, you know, I've had time that I should have looked this stuff up, but it was the 40s. Robin came out in the 40s. The whole point of Robin was let's give something that the kids can relate to. He's the gateway hero. We'll put a kid superhero the kids can relate to him, because I think it kind of goes back to Billy Batson, you know, changed Shazam and turned into Captain Marvel, you know, kid fantasies and all that stuff, right? So they came out with Robin, and the sales took up. Now, before that, Batman carried a gun. Batman was a dark character whose parents died in front of him, shot down in an alleyway. You know, that always held true, and Batman was dark. What people don't remember is Superman would let your ass drop off the side of a building, and Batman would too. Frank Miller tapped some of that stuff, okay? But these were, you know, they weren't meant to be dark. It's just that people had a sense of justice that was just freaking eye for eye and tooth for tooth back then. You're talking about a generation of people who are in the midst of World War II. They were coming out of the Great Depression, but they didn't know they were coming out of it. They lived through it. Before that, you had the lost generation of the 20s, the Great Gatsby people, who had survived World War I and the super flu of the teens and all that stuff around the 70s. I mean, I remember it was millions and millions of that generation died, so they were a little bit lost and stuff like that. Before that, you had the Industrial Revolution come in. And then before that, you had the Wild West, and then you had like the workforce that was, you know, disbanded and lost, rightfully so, of the slaves and stuff, you know, after the Civil War. And before that, you know, you had the Civil War fighting and all this stuff, and little kids were getting guns put in their hands. And when it comes to war and stuff, you had people, you know, I've read real-life biographies or stories or recountings over the years. I mean, I'm not an avid reader of that stuff, but they've been there. And they turned around, and kids would lie. Their generation had to have their wars, so they would lie about their age, man. And I've read stories of 12-year-old kids were able to pass for 18, 13, 14, 16-year-olds. Never read one on a 15-year-old, you know. Unreal. All right. Don't know what it is, but we're good. So, the idea of us as a generation having memories of Saturday morning cartoons and being kids and our toys and our big wheels and our Nintendos and our PlayStations and our video games and all this great stuff, and you know, actually getting to be kids and learning, growing up and going to school and being around kids and stuff. That's the kind of a new concept, you know, from, you know, less than 100 years. You know, I can't put, you know, I'm not a big enough expert to tell you exactly when it happened. But it also goes back to the whole idea of a nuclear family and a family unit and the wife staying home and cooking and cleaning and all that stuff. There's actually only like a 20 to 30 year period where that actually happened, you know. And that's where we're stuck at. So, you know, the whole idea of, you know, the kid, you got to get past that. Remember when Robin came out, okay? Robin came out during World War II, and there weren't child labor laws. This is where the child labor laws actually started. The whole idea of social workers and having these laws came from what's called the New Act of the 30s by Roosevelt. Anyway, you know, we got Social Security numbers, and Social Security checks got started, and everybody got registered, and people really started tracking birth certificates and stuff. So, you know, all this came out during World War II. Batman hit, Robin hit, Captain America was already, you know, out, and when Batman got a sidekick, the whole sidekick thing blew up. So, yeah, I get being like, oh my God, this is stupid in a way, just because everything was a carbon copy of Robin. Robin ended up Dick Grayson Robin. To me, Dick Grayson is always going to be Robin, and anybody after him has to live up to him. Depending when you came into comics, depending where you found Batman, depending how old you are, and everything like that, everybody has their Robin. Jason Todd, Tim Drake, Carrie Kelly, that chick that was the spoiler for a little bit, she counts as Robin. So yeah, the whole idea, it's kind of been overblown, so you got to get back to the core of it. Now, that's the real life stuff, okay? And I've tried to shoot this video enough to where I'm not going to go on and on. But it's one of those things you really don't have to defend him, because things have happened with that character of Robin that is unique. Robin, this is why it's a non-issue. It is Batman and Robin. Robin is embedded in that Batman universe, okay, from the get-go. because as soon as he stepped in, bam, he became part of that mythos. And if you want to write Batman, you have to ask that question. That's the only good thing about that question. You have to ask that question: why does Batman need Robin? Frank Miller asked that question, and the first thing he came up with after drawing Robin and trying to figure it out is that Robin gives scale to Batman. He makes Batman look big and more heroic because there's this little kid beside him. There's a double-page spread in here. I think it's a double-page spread. It might be a one-page spread where Batman's jumping over, from building to building. And right there, he's all posed in the big Miller pose and all this stuff. And then there's this kid, Carrie Kelly, right beside of him, bright, popping that page, making Batman look bigger and heroic. Okay, so there's the aesthetics of it. The opposite of Batman. Batman's this dark character. Here's this light coming in. Here's this gateway for kids to come in and to be able to connect with this character. Okay, and then, it enriched The Dark Knight Returns, a classic. And then you have The New Frontier, okay, by Darwin Cook. Darwin Cook asked the same question. And Batman is saving this kid from this cult in this church with the Martian Manhunter coming in as a detective and everything, and there's fire, so he's pretty much useless. And Batman, he walks in and Batman's kicking ass on this old, satanic cult or whatever it is, and all of a sudden he saves the kid, and the kid is scared of him because Batman's so dark and stuff. So Batman changed his costume and the way he did things, because he said he set out to fight crime. He didn't set out to scare children and stuff. So right off the get-go, the whole idea of having a kid in the picture kind of pulled Batman out of that darkness, and he needed it. Now that's the big thing with Robin. If there really is a question, why does Batman need Robin, it saves him from the darkness. Batman is able to come out of that abyss. He is a dark character. He is out to scare the criminals, the cowardly, suspicious lot, and everything like that. But he gets lost in it. Back when that's the thing about Batman and Robin. Jason Todd was killed off because anybody who wrote Jason Todd as Robin ended up hating him because the character ended up taking over the story. That's a writer's problem. I have talked to people who write on their own, English professors or literature professors. I actually took some night classes where we had to write a play, and we would talk about what he's writing. He had a character get killed by the bus because he couldn't control them. Sometimes these characters come to life and they write themselves. And that's what makes them a living, breathing being, even though they're on paper. Okay, the character is so strong and so well defined, and just this X factor that you can't put a finger on. It's like he was supposed to exist. Now I'm getting out there, and unless you've tried to write or you've read books and stuff like that, you'll know what I'm talking about. You can actually come up with a situation, and a character is so well defined, you know how they'll act, and that's why people get disappointed. But what happened with Robin is that it's not out of the question to look at this kid, Dick Grayson, and he's working for a circus. That goes on now with a family of acrobats. Okay, that's really something pulled from real life. So that's this first thing going. The idea of this sidekick and stuff, it's actually pulled from something that's plausible in the real world. David Mazzucchelli, when he worked on Batman Year One with Frank Miller, made a quote, and I'm not going to get it exactly right, but he said, the more realistic you try to make a comic book character, the more unbelievable they are. The more believable you try to make them, the more unbelievable they are. Yet here's Robin being pulled from one of the few occupations a kid can still have that resonates today. I mean, I took my kid to the Shriner Circus and stuff, and there's a family of acrobats there, kids and all. So number one, it's not implausible. Number two, Batman, here's the situation. Batman has lost his parents. The Graysons are shot down in front of Robin, in front of a crowd. It's completely different. Batman was by himself, and he had to see it, and then everybody that helped him came in the aftermath, so nobody saw that transformation. Batman turns around and sees this kid going through the same thing, and that's the problem. People's mind kind of go to the gutter because, you know, of events, time, history. We become more aware of things. And they go like, oh, it's kind of funny to have a, you know, a ward with a man, you know, who doesn't really have a woman in his life. No, you got to go back to what it was and get your mind out of the gutter a little bit. He is saving this boy from the darkness that has consumed him. Bruce Wayne died with his parents in spirit. He became Batman that very moment. Bruce Wayne is the alter ego, and that's the difference. He went out to save Robin, so, you know, Dick Grayson didn't die, you know, in the same way. So he brings this boy and he homes him and he gives him direction and he helps him through it because he's been through it. So all of a sudden Batman has somebody to take care of. Batman, who's just had Alfred, you know, really, you know, maybe a little Commissioner Gordon here on the side. It was the start of Batman reclaiming a family after this solitude life. And he was a bit more reckless and didn't really, you know, it just changed his point of view. It brought light into his world, and that's reflected in the costume, and that was probably an accident. That's what I'm saying about this character having that it factor. I don't think anybody looked 50 years down the line and be like, Robin's actually going to save, you know, a little light of Bruce Wayne there, okay? And that's the other thing. People who know they're Batman, I mean, they know they're Batman. I mean, we're talking, they know this story, they know that character and everything like that. They always know how to bring out the Batman. With the Robin, the way they write it. One of the real subtle things that reflected this was in the 80s when Marv Wolfman came on to the Teen Titans and he started writing what I consider the Dick Grayson Robin. You're actually seeing Robin without Batman, but you see he brought in elements of, you could tell that Dick Grayson was, you know, he had some Batman tricks where he was trained that way. He was able to shine in a different way. It's like he was their version of Batman, but it was still Dick Grayson doing it different. And all of a sudden, to me, that just brought out the character of Dick Grayson. It was no longer Batman and Robin. It was Dick Grayson and the Teen Titans. And what happens to Batman over that time? And this is what I'm saying. I don't know if it was planned or if that's just how Batman spoke to them, but Marv Wolfman was well aware of it and stuff. Batman lost his damn mind. Batman got dark, became the asshole Batman. For a lot of people that don't know their Batman history, the early 80s, a lot of people actually kind of were shaky about Batman. They loved their Batman, but Batman was an asshole. I mean, this was actually titled there for a while. If you heard Batman talked about, he was an asshole. And he quits the Justice League. That's as it says right here. Tells him pretty much to go kiss his ass. And he turns around and he like brings in the Outsiders, who are all trying to be replacements for Batman. And they ended up having a Teen Titans Batman and the Outsiders crossover where they finally made up, and he realizes where all his anger is. He went back into that darkness, and all of a sudden he's reliving that trauma of losing a family member. I mean, not bad for some early 80s, you know, comic books where they never spelled that out. It was all in the actions. This is back when writing wasn't about telling you things and talking heads all the time. They showed it, and you had to figure it out over the years, like what's going on. Oh, that's what's wrong with him. You pick up that he's off. That's what Batman did. Now, if you don't believe me and stuff, or not buying this, go back and look at All-Star Batman and Robin, which is just, you know, I actually know 2 or 3 people that kind of liked it. I think I may know the only 2 or 3 people that do, man, and this is where it's a vicious Batman. You know, cursing, you know, there's this whole idea that this is actually in the Dark Knight Returns universe, and this is how Batman started out until Robin came in, and he supposedly had Robin eating rats if he wanted to eat and all this stuff, you know, like that. And that just did not go over well because Robin was not saving Batman. Batman was looking at him as a soldier, and you see what happened with that. So yeah, that's not the Batman people want to accept. You know, they took a chance, and Miller, you know what we're saying. Now, one of the things about Robin that was cool is that, much like Batman being able to have different incarnations in surviving, you know, the 50s Batman, the campy Batman, you know, the Dick Sprang Batman, you know, Bob Finger, Bill Littlefinger and Bob Kane and that Batman, and our Dark Knight Batman and our Elseworlds Batman, Gotham by Gaslight Batman, Red Rain Batman, I can go on the animated series Batman, is that Robin has been able to translate like that also. And one of the things that happened is that they brought that darkness back in the 70s. When Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams came on, Batman was actually about to be canceled. They were worried. Detective Comics may have been canceled and stuff. They brought in Neil Adams, and of course everybody jumped on the art. What people forget is they brought back some of that darkness. They went back to where Batman started and brought back that darkness, but they didn't go too far. They brought in Robin, and Neil Adams with his art started drawing a more Robin influenced by Batman, more cocky, more ready to, like, you know, I want to punch you in the face kind of Robin, but didn't lose Robin. Robin got a little bit of that darkness, but you know, he's influenced Batman and lightened him up and gave him a reason. Batman seems to do better when he has somebody to take care of. And then all of a sudden, you know, Robin is starting to get that Batman influence, you know. When he came in there, and all of a sudden, man, you know, you just look at Dick Grayson and you believe that, you know, he can hit a guy that's 200 pounds more than him, and he knows how to hit him and beat his ass. Okay? So yeah, that's why Batman needs Robin. Robin saves him from the darkness. Robin keeps a little humanity in Batman. And you, if you go back to like when Batman got his bat broke back in '93, and they brought in Azrael and let him become Batman, you saw how the darkness can hit. You saw what being Batman can do to you. I mean, Azrael was messed up in the head, and there's a few more issues going on, but that was the first. That was when somebody not from the Batman family was tried to be Batman, and it's not easy. Batman is dark. That's what people forget. That's what makes him different from Superman. You know, besides the powers and the Kryptonian thing. So yeah, that's why Batman needs Robin. He keeps him sane. He keeps him from looking at the abyss and becoming the abyss, you know, once you look back at it, you know. So there you go. Yeah. Carry on. Have a good New Year's.